This video is going to be a film study look at the Ravens' third quarter offensive possessions, which in some ways stand out as an anomaly because they were so effective. They relied on the run game with Derrick Henry, multiple pass game concepts, Lamar Jackson targeting. There was a left of center focus on these three possessions, and I think that'll be revealed during the video. There's also something to be said, obviously, about is Todd Monken and the offensive staff avoiding the right side of the offensive line with some of those run concepts. It seems quite obvious to me that they are, and that defenses have adjusted to that in certain situations. We became a left-handed football team for parts of these possessions. Of course, the Ravens went touchdown to open the third quarter, and then the interception, which at this point now looking at it, looks like it hits Rashad Bateman in the hands. Jacorian Bennett is there to challenge, but the angle we got on television during the live broadcast looked like he tipped it. It doesn't look like it to me here, but we'll see the play here in a moment. And then the touchdown drive that bridges the third quarter and the fourth quarter before the collapse, before the offense gets nothing else done thereafter, and the defense suddenly can't stop Gardner Minshew, Devontae Adams, and Brock Bowers. So we'll get the film started, and this is not meant to be overly positive necessarily, but it is meant to show that the Ravens, when we get things blocked up well, we can get things accomplished. We're certainly got a lot of talent at the position players, running backs, tight ends, and receivers. This is a draw play to Justice Hill that was a nice call, if you ask me, to open the third quarter. We've got the Raiders in their nickel set, and it allows Linderbaum and Falele to get out on the defensive tackle and then combo up to the inside linebacker level. Isaiah Likely has gone ahead and worked up to the inside linebacker to the boundary, sealed him off. Justice Hill ends up getting 14 yards. Great play call if you ask me. Now, there is something to be said about Monken's offense being so versatile and so multiple that sometimes we do something that works and we never come back to it. This particular action, this draw action, the Ravens actually came back to 2 plays from now. So I'll let it flow through one more time so you can see the snap and the draw. Remember that for a couple of plays from now. But again, Justice Hill, 14 yards, and of course, Robert Spillane involved in a tackle like it seemed like he was all day yesterday. 21 personnel. Here we are running into the boundary. The Raiders have walked up a safety into the boundary. It's Hobbs. He's right here on the right-hand side of the screen. As a result of that, they're going to take Crosby and stem him inside. So they're trying to basically force the run play to bounce out to that strong safety and Diablo, number 5. In this case, it ends up working out in our favor. We have a lane downhill. We're unable to get to Diablo at all, who is there to make the tackle for a 2-yard gain. At that point, we haven't gotten a ton of things accomplished with Derrick Henry, and then we started to just pop things off here in a moment. Same play, end zone angle, and you can see what's happening, leaving the boundary side corner unblocked. Here's Diablo. For whatever reason, we don't go get him as a wide receiver. I'm not sure that Tylan Wallace is necessarily going to physically be able to block him anyway, but as it stands, we leave him totally unblocked, and it ends up only being a 2-yard gain. There's multiple examples of stuff like this happening where we're just bleeding little by little. Same action as the draw. This is 2nd and 8. Same pseudo mesh between Lamar and Justice Hill, and then we float this one over to Andrews for 6 yards. The Raiders happen to be in a 5-1 look from the standpoint of only one inside linebacker. It's 12 personnel from the Ravens, so Likely is down here to the field. This boundary side attack with either Likely or Andrews is certainly what's hitting and what sticks out in my mind through the first 2 games and generally into the boundary. In this case, it happens to be to the left. Yeah, the throw's in the middle of the field, but I'm talking about the pre-snap alignment away from the nickel defender. This is Diablo, the inside linebacker who was walked up on the line of scrimmage. Spillane has moved up with the draw action. Great catch by Andrews, like I said, for 16 yards. Boundary side run, we really start get the run game going out of 21 personnel. I think it's Kolar and Ricard over there comboing the edge defender. Henry nearly takes this one all the way, ends up stiff-arming the other inside linebacker. I believe it's 49. No, that's the outside OLB. My apologies. So it's a direct run action. We're comboing the edge defender. Additional to that, the boundary side wide receiver is going ahead and getting the safety down there. It's Flowers. When you get the end zone angle, you'll see the way this works out. It's a little bit interesting and unique, but let's give Henry some free runs, some free lanes to run through. I'm not talking about, untouched 5 yards down the field, but if we get him to the line of scrimmage, we can get things accomplished. We initially comboed here on 49. Zay is going ahead after the safety, number 1, Epps. He falls off of Epps to the outside, but Ricard gets the corner, Hobbs. And Henry, it is 49 to OLB. I think it's Snowden. Ends up being a huge gain for Derrick Henry. I think 29, 30 yards. Credit to the Raiders for some of the stuff they were doing when Ricard's on the field and when he's in motion. We've gotten to the point, I think, where we've all established we're predictable at times with this. Ricard motioning from our left to right for the offense, right to left on the screen. So presumably going to be a kick-out block. Watch what Crosby does. Goes underneath the kick-out block, really screws up the scheme of it. There is no kick-out block. He's dug inside of it. You have Spillane unblocked. Crosby folds back in. Don't get me wrong, Crosby was making plays, but some of this is just super high-level preparation and awareness in terms of what call they used on a particular defensive snap, and I think some of it is related to us being predictable at times. The touchdown to Zay Flowers, unbalanced bunch right A, fake pitch, very same play that we used against the San Francisco 49ers for a touchdown last year. So we've gone unbalanced. Out of 12 personnel, here's Andrews as the backside tackle. Stanley is over here. He's going to pin down. You're normally getting tight end and play side tackle wrapping out with the pitch to the running back. You can see the fake pitch. Macari did not pull, but likely did. Easy completion for Lamar. Spillane is stepping forward with the run play, thinking that he's identified it. They've seen it so much. So credit to the Ravens for running the play action first down here in the goal line. Later on in this video, you'll see us actually run the run concept to our left, and it doesn't actually work. Same play, all 22 angles, so you can check it out. You can see the nature of it in terms of the play fake. Flowers being wide open. You do have multiple, I will say this, you do have multiple threats here in terms of potential receivers. You do have Flowers up the seam, Aguilar, and then Likely. So we are at least occupying people. It's not a one-man route. Ends up being Lamar's touchdown, first touchdown pass of the day. This is going to be the second possession of the third quarter. We just pretty much gashed them, I thought, there. Moving the ball downfield, sharing the ball among multiple guys. Andrews, Flowers, punched it in. Derrick Henry had the 29-yard run. This is 20 personnel, which I think we may need to get into more often. And Ricard is on in the backfield as a sniffer, so he's in front of Henry. Slight little play fake on first down, and the inside release route by Bateman. Wins, ball's thrown a little bit behind him, but nice catch, which is somewhat ironic because I don't know if it's considered a drop or what later on here in a moment, the next play that I'll show you. But it's certainly a ball that hits him in the hands, and we'd like to see a catch. Moncton's offense has so many layers to it. I do feel like at times we vacillate between these formation-oriented plays, and this is what I mean. So he has so many formations and so many things that we do. He almost reminds me of guys who get into this formation to run these 2 or 3 plays. And with this particular release, we are oftentimes running a snag concept. So oftentimes the back is on Lamar's to the same side as the receiver, Bateman, and crossing face, and you get a snag concept and then a flat route. In this case, the back is on the other side, Derrick Henry. We're actually pass proing here with Macari, but we are running the snag. And Jacorian Bennett, there's something to be, and I think this looks like it's a ball that's in Bateman's hands that we could catch. There is a challenge there by Bennett, don't get me wrong, but in the NFL, that's an opportunity to make a catch, and he's certainly made tough catches. He'll make one here in a moment on the ensuing possession, so that one's disappointing if you ask me. Credit to the Raiders. How often do the Ravens, play man no matter what? And watch what Bennett and Jones do. Seems simple to me, not overly complicated, but why can they do this? Because they have a pretty good idea of what route Rashad Bateman's going to run. I want to see us on this motion by Zay run something that is to the hash, up the hash, or even an inside release that we bend back to the sideline. There's more there, if you ask me, from this particular formation, this particular pre-snap alignment than Todd Monken utilizes. Now, it's only week 2, so we only have a certain number of plays. We did run 72 offensive plays against the Chiefs, and we certainly ran a lot yesterday. Of course, it's Robert Spillane who ends up with the interception. I think I'll give you the end zone angle of this one. I don't know if it gives a great angle to see how you want to classify it, a drop, a PD. There's no statistical designation for Ja'Cory Bennett here. And again, we're turned around the opposite direction. So don't know exactly. Feel free to let me know what you've seen from a statistical standpoint or other view angles. Unfortunate, because if you look at the possession before that interception, we score. And then this possession, our third of the third quarter, we score again. I can't help but think that that's a missed opportunity there for the entire Ravens team to really get out on this Raider. I think it's 16-6 at that point, but feel free to let me know if I'm wrong. I think it's 16-6 at the time of that Spillane interception. We catch that football. Maybe it's a tough catch. Maybe it's a very tough catch. I don't know. I really don't care. But if we catch it and it doesn't turn into an interception, I wonder how the rest of that possession and the rest of the game turns out. So moving forward here, we are late third quarter, and Falele is just beat incredibly fast. Yeah, it's Christian Wilkins, okay? So he's a great player. That's fine. But I just don't think you can lose to this side for what I'm seeing. And I may not have a this is a 1st and 20, by the way. We've had, I think there was a penalty on the Raiders on a sack, and then offsetting penalties on us and them, and then maybe a third penalty that pushed us back to this 1st and 20. But the running back goes through here to the inside A gap. So I'm talking about this guy's helmet here goes through to the inside A gap. Falele's beat to the outside for the guard. He's beat through the B gap. What confuses me about Falele so many times is he'll get beat to the side I think he's responsible for. I mentioned this on a show that I did with Cole Jackson, Mike Crawford, and Sip Tatali last week. That's the thing that alarms me about Falele mostly, and to a lesser extent, Macari and Rosengarten. Really, I'm talking about against the Chiefs. Now, maybe it's predetermined that, maybe the running back, maybe it's not predetermined, and he's going to help to whatever side the D tackle goes to. But at this point, I just don't know how we can survive if our running back and right guard can't get this accomplished. Yeah, Lamar scrambles out of there for 9 yards. Again, it's a 1st and 20, late third quarter. You just can't lose this quickly. He just always ends up tilted over. Falele, he always ends up tilted over too far. So his head and his chin is over his toes, not directly over, but out in front, I should say, of his toes. And you're just dead. You're dead to rights at that point, and it happens so fast. I just think he's too slow. He's got too much slow twitch. 2nd and 11, the very next play. This is going to be a beautiful catch up to the top side to Bateman. I like the double chip action. And you may say, well, we can't do that on every play. Well, there's some teams who do, number one. Number two, if we have a tight end on the field and a running back, we can certainly chip one of them to each side, or both of them to each side, or just one, depending on the matchup. Here, we chip Crosby, and then that lets Macari, the tackle, keep working. We also chip down here. I think it's Aguilar, and then release Bateman on the deep out. I think 18 yards. Great catch. Nice little soft throw from Lamar from the other hash. In time, in rhythm, throwing the football before Bateman is open. I think that's important for those two guys. And I think Bateman's got to be stronger at the catch point if you look at that interception, that possession before. And Lamar's got to make more of these throws. He's got to throw more of these balls to Bateman before he's open, such that he knows the coverage and he knows Bateman's going to be open. You can see him looking in the middle of the field. I think he knows where he's going with this football right now. Fully extended, great catch by Bateman along the sideline, gathers it in. I thought it was a brilliant moment. And again, still reflecting back on the previous possession, for us to turn the football over there in a stretch where I thought we looked dominant offensively is very difficult. It's frustrating. It's emblematic of what this team is right now after week 2 being 0-2. So attacking to the boundary with the tight end. We have now switched. We're into the fourth quarter, going into the opposite direction. You'll get the all-22 in a moment. You don't see the receiver off screen, but likely as running the out into the boundary with no nickel defender, so the inside linebacker, safety, and corner have got to handle or figure out those two receivers. It's essentially a shield concept with Bateman running to the outside shoulder of the inside linebacker, and the Raiders are man on one here, but not two. So Bateman is going to run to the inside shoulder of this inside, excuse me, to the outside shoulder of that linebacker. I think it's Diablo. And then Likely's cut is off of him. Now, that inside linebacker isn't next to Bateman, but the point I'm talking about is the inside release nature of it. This clears up the read for Lamar. The safety's driving on it, and that's what I think is really dangerous about Isaiah Likely and promising. Maybe also a little bit maddening in that we didn't get him the ball more often at times. This is a play I think the Ravens could run 4, 5, 6 times a game, at least from a formation standpoint. You are widening up the trip side inside linebacker. I think we've skipped a play here, by the way. Zay Flowers potentially could run the bubble, which is what he's running here. Spillane is the trip side inside linebacker. It's out of 11 personnel. So down here to the bottom, you've got a defensive end that's being read by Lamar, and it's a give to Henry. No, it's not a left side run. It is a left side play. Henry, in this case, actually ends up taking it through the front side B gap. You will get the end zone angle, so I can show you. But I think you're creating conflict into the boundary with Andrews, Henry, and then the potential for Lamar to keep it. 97 kind of comes upfield, and it's an easy give read for Lamar. Derrick Henry, 9 yards on the play. That was a 1st and 10. Same play, end zone angle, so read man right here. Additional to that, Spillane ends up being expanded a little bit. There's a bubble. So he's widening up on the snap to try to react in case we're throwing a bubble to Flowers. And in this case, that's the gap that Henry ends up going through. So there's natural, if you ask me, conflict created there from the formation, the trips to the field with Zay is number 3. And then Henry and Andrews down there to the boundary. Skip one more play. This is a pin pull pitch where Stanley gets out and leads. I think he gets up to the safety. 17 yards for Henry. They call a unnecessary roughness after the play. I just kind of can't believe it. But Linderbaum is one of the pullers. Stanley, one of the pullers. And then Andrews is out in front because of the pin down block by Aguilar on 49. 49's listed as 6'7" on their roster. I didn't think he looked like he was 6'7", but he didn't look as physically imposing as was listed. But it's a beautiful concept that Monken relies on often. It's a great example here for Macari. He scoops on the backside on Wilkins, trying to cut him off. Wilkins actually does end up making the play, however, on the far side, which is pretty incredible effort, or he's given credit for the tackle, I should say. I don't know about you. I find it interesting, the credit that players get for tackles at times where they actually don't make the tackle. So another pin pull pitch. Think about the progression of when we did this. We had just run pin pull pitch, number 1. I'm fine with it. It's Derrick Henry, and it's into the boundary. The first time we did this is the touchdown pass to Zay Flowers to finish the opening possession of the third quarter. You know, you pin down with Stanley, wrap with the tight end and the play side tackle. And 50 or 5 is able to fold back in after taking on the block by Likely. Likely, I feel like is going for a home run here, or a triple instead of a double or a single. He gets knocked off, and that really disrupts the flow of the play. I'm not saying we're going to expand this guy out, but if we're at least able to hit a double or even a single, Derrick Henry's got an opportunity here. There is an unblocked guy pursuing on the backside. I believe that is Wilkins. Goes down for 3-yard gain. And then we go Wildcat with Henry back there. I loved seeing this out of 22 personnel because we're creating a surface that is difficult for any defense to deal with. So what I mean by surface is normally you're talking about a 3-man surface, a guard, a tackle, maybe a tight end. Here, because it is 22 personnel, Henry is one of the running backs. Ricard is the other, 2. And then 2 tight ends, Kolar and Likely. Lamar is off screen to our right. We have created guard, tackle, tight end, H-back, whatever you want to call him, tight end. We've created a 5-man surface where they only have 2 to deal with us. Another second level players that are involved that, obviously need to be taken into account or part of the pre-snap count. We just have too many bodies there for them to deal with. Spillane, of course, and Crosby are two of the guys wrapped up there. Those guys gave incredible effort along with Wilkins, but we were able to power in for a 3-yard gain. At this point, I don't know about you. I was like, our offense is rolling. We are such a unusual offense. Someone in the comment section said it best. It's almost like Todd Monken's offense here in Baltimore is going to have 2 possessions a game where we look borderline unstoppable. The versatility, the different personnel groups, the different play concepts, they're all valuable. They're all needed. They're all necessary. Don't get me wrong. I do wonder or if maybe later in the season we're going to be better offensively because all of these concepts, all of these play types or our style of play can change from one snap to another, are going to mesh together better. We certainly have to get better at right guard. There is no question about that at all. We're not moving people. B, we're too slow to deal with pass rush movement at all, and have no ability to adjust during the play. This is what it could look like. This is what it should look like, in fact, offensively, because we have so much talent and because we have Lamar Jackson, a guy who can kind of make everything go and execute so many of the concepts that Todd Monken is asking him to. I didn't necessarily want my first video of the week to be positive. I don't really know that this one is, because the larger point that maybe I didn't mention too much earlier is how utterly imbalanced or unbalanced we are in our run concept yesterday. Successful run concepts, that is. I haven't done so yet, but I intend to chart run concepts to the left and to the right and see what we're gaining. I think it's quite obvious that most of our sacks have come from the right-hand side. Voorhees has been beat a few times, particularly against the Chiefs in Week 1. I think that there is some real data there that other teams at this point have. We've gone through 2 games, and they can look at it and say, okay, they're averaging blank yards per carry to the left and significantly less to the right. And so some of these formations that we show that have an extra man over to the left, whether it's unbalanced or whether it's a tight end and a fullback, NFL defenses are going to match that from a numerical standpoint and put their players in the best position possible to try to stop us. We've got to become more balanced. Not just run-pass balance, but we've got to become more balanced in terms of successful run plays to our left, successful run plays to our right. It really looks like the same dynamic as the preseason when we could not run the ball. Well, we couldn't run the ball well at all in the preseason for the most part, but particularly to our right. We still have the same issue. How or if it gets solved, when the heck it gets solved, I don't know. At this point, if it's not someone else starting at right guard next week, I'm not sure that you can expect to see anything different than this left of center focus that the Ravens have in the run game and to some extent successful pass pros. You guys let me know what you thought of the third and fourth quarter drives. All 3 drives began in the third quarter, that is. Certainly wonderful to see Derrick Henry be a big part of the offense. The gravity that he creates and the way that he looked running downhill is encouraging for our offense. We've got some other holes to fix, gaping holes to try to patch up. I don't know how you patch up a hole that big at right guard. But here we are, 0-2. I will have a video out about some of our defensive coverages and choices that we made, trying to deal with the Raiders once they went into full-time crazy pass mode, and we were quite unsuccessful at navigating that situation. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at the successful moments, really a dominant third quarter offensively for the Ravens, except for the interception, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.